Hi folks, I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm at the beach today. I hope you can hear me over the sound of the waves. So anyway, a user asked me the question along the lines of, I'm no longer a Christian, but how do I go about telling my parents that? And I'm guessing this must have come from someone who's maybe in their mid-teens or thereabouts, possibly younger, I don't know. So anyway, my take on this, the question presupposes that you should tell your parents, and that's kind of where I'm thinking that's the problem. Maybe you actually shouldn't tell your parents. Now, I don't know your parents, but you got to just weigh up the consequences, and this is true for every action you do in life. This is the basis of all ethics, to be honest. Weigh up the consequences of what it will mean to tell your parents. Now, only you know what that would be like, but let me hazard some sort of a guess. They'll be disappointed in you. They won't understand why you don't believe in the Bible anymore, why you're no longer a Christian. They'll have this suspicion that you're now going to end up in hell, and depending on how much they believe this may bring a great deal of sorrow into their lives. If you treasure any hope of deconverting them, from my experience, that very rarely happens. A person can only come away from that sort of life if they are really ready to within themselves. Sometimes it takes a crisis. Sometimes people are just too happy with that kind of understanding of life to seek something that's more self-realized. So, generally speaking, I don't see a lot of good coming out of telling your parents. Now, I kind of know where that sort of spirit might be coming from, that attitude of wanting to tell them, because I used to read a lot of David Icke books, and the one thing that much as I disagree with a lot of what he says nowadays, the one thing that I really took away from it was the rebellious spirit, the kind of responsible rebellion, the sort of spirituality with balls, the ability to stand up proudly for what you believe in, not to be ashamed of it, not to be frightened of what other people will think or what the consequences are. And to a large extent, I really do resonate with that, and maybe that's what you're feeling. But, it's not smart to throw away all sense of pragmatism, to throw away all sense of what potentially might happen to you as a result of what you're doing. For instance, if you had some really extreme fundamentalist parents, and maybe they're not like that, but if they are, the potential is there that they might feel they have to actually exile you, ostracize you from their lives, cast you out of the home even. I mean, this sort of thing has happened. I remember watching the Louis Theroux documentary on Westboro Baptist Church. That's the crowd who everybody knows that holds up those God hates fags placards, the really extreme brand of Christianity. And there was one girl who had basically been kicked out of her home because she didn't believe anymore, and the parents couldn't accept her back unless she came back on their terms. So, people, the one thing that I do find generally about Christianity is that Christians will play mind games of one kind or another, and they don't actually acknowledge to themselves that they're playing it. And the most common one is the one that says, what if you're wrong? And they're trying to get you to respond out of fear. But there's more than that. Whoops, I almost slipped on some seaweed. They can play this real emotional blackmail with the people that they love, in that they can say, they can be reduced to tears and and almost try to blame you for making them cry. You know what I mean? So like, as if they could just command you back by manipulating you in that way. And more commonly again is just the view that I'm kind of losing my train of thought. There's the fear mongering, there's the emotional manipulation. It might bring a lot of sorrow into the lives of your parents who won't understand, and it might bring a lot of sorrow into your life because they might basically browbeat you back with various subtle threats of one kind or another, or emotional manipulations. It happens. It kind of makes a lot more sense just to privately have your own beliefs and not to make waves with people that are close to you. In my life, I've suffered, and this is me as an adult, but I can kind of weather that sort of thing because I'm a big boy, I've got a life of my own. And if one of my friends tells me that they can't accept me anymore unless I become a Christian again, well, I'm just not going to stand for that, because he doesn't have the right to bully me back into something that I don't believe is true. And if I did come back because he bullied me and I'd allowed him to bully me, that wouldn't even be real belief. That would just be me trying to pragmatically keep people in my life who I value, and I would be pretending to believe, even maybe pretending to myself to believe. So I've been through all this, I publicly made a statement that I was no longer a Christian, and I've never looked back, and I've been ostracized for it. I've been ostracized by some people who were like a second family to me. Not my own family, because my own family were not overly religious. My mom was nominally Christian. My dad wasn't Christian at all, isn't Christian at all. But the other family, people who know me locally know who that is. They cast me forth out of their lives. And it wasn't hatred. But, the woman of that family, the older woman who was married to the ex-pastor of my church, I'd known them for more than 15 years probably, or thereabouts. She was crying. She started crying when she realized she couldn't get me to change my mind. But there was nothing that I could do about that, because I was convinced that I was following the right course. But yet the fact, her tears were genuine. She really felt that God required her to cast me from her life. So you're not even up against just general human nastiness. It's much more multi-layered than that. People feel that they have to do awful things to obey God because they believe the Bible says a certain thing about what they should do in certain circumstances. And the Bible is the authority for their lives, not their own minds. They've given that up and replaced that with the Bible. So, be pragmatic. That's my advice to you. If you feel it's something your parents can take, and it's something you could have a productive discussion with them about, then go ahead. There's no hard and fast rules here. But be careful, because a lot of bad can come from this. I'm not saying that you shouldn't express your beliefs on some forum or other. You have the internet for that, just like I do. So just move forward with your life and keep trying to learn new things. Keep expressing yourself when it's safe to do so, I guess. So that's my advice to you. All the best.